would you let us all in a little bit on your process? How do you, because you do it so effortlessly, how do you come to that place where you really speak? I know you've been doing it forever, so maybe a little more of a challenging question, but.
Well, the one that is, where you were speaking from, of God is, in another octave, is the one that always is. And since it always is, we always are that. So, even though we forget that truth and play the pretend game of being individuated and separate from that, it's always so. So the one that's always so. See, we're saying different names for the same truth. But when you're in that, in the entirety of it, there's actually, the different name flips you into a different resonance of it. The one that is, we call God, is, beyond all the forms and expressions and levels, and yet it's in all of them too. So the immediacy of God makes available the immediacy of God's message and God's purpose. The biggest thing that gets in our way is our holding on to the separation of it. Except that we're a different form doing that. It is always so. And so if we go to that place where it's always so and surrender to that, then in a sense it speaks. And we're a conduit, like you said, of that. And when we effort to try, we get in the way. So it was interesting. I was sitting there and I thought about speaking, and I was very blank. And then they said, well, tell them about the three certainties. So when we as souls come into agreement to come into participation in the human experience as part of the divine design of creative learning that God is undertaking through utilizing the process of individuating itself and doing this extraordinary thing where God somehow convinces itself and forgets for itself that it's always God, so that it can play the game of individuation. But when that happens, there are three certainties given to us by God. The first certainty is God says, I will always be with you no matter what happens. The second certainty given to us by God is any circumstance or situation we find ourselves, any challenge we have to deal with or overcome, the solution to it will always be present for us and always be at hand if we will but look and listen. And the third certainty is in the experiences we have, everything we deal in will change. And who we are will never change. And those are the three certainties. And those were given to man in the first formation of consciousness that was this dualistic thing, which is unique to the human condition. That it can know itself or identify itself as an individual separate from a God, and yet crave to undo itself and be freed of that which makes it itself. And this is a hidden message that carries many of us through many hard things. So each of you knows this. That's an example. They said, tell them about the three certainties. Before I started talking about it, consciously I didn't know anything about the three certainties. But I knew the one that knows, and I said, I gave myself to that one and explained them. So that's speaking from the Spirit. It's a spontaneous. Because the one that is us. And the one that is has the answers to all. So as we give over to it, we're really giving over to ourselves. It's so easy and so effortless that it's hard. Because the scripted story we have in the world that we tell ourselves is contrary to that. We're caught in the great game of becoming. And it is released from that game where we come into the now and the ever-present truth. The blessings already are.